welcome to this edition of Go Vote Omaha, presented by the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha. I'm Tiffany Truong, Voter Services Director, and I will be our facilitator for tonight's conversation. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization and does not endorse political candidates or parties. Our purpose is to empower voters and defend democracy. Go Vote Omaha focuses on policy issues. As a result of our discussions, we hope you will be ready to make an informed decision during election time. We will hear tonight from candidates running for the Millard Board of Education. Our objective is for the voters to hear about issues and policies directly from the candidates in a nonpartisan environment. To find out what district you are in and what candidates will be on your ballot this November, visit vote411.org. Organized and published by the League of Women Voters of Nebraska Volunteer. Vote411.org is a one-stop shop for election-related information. It provides specifics about the election process, details, and general state information about the state candidates, and information directly from, candidates who educate the public about their platform by responding to the vote411.org questionnaire. As an organization, we're committed to transparency. We want to be clear about our process. We invited all of the candidates from the Millard Board of Education race. Candidates were provided with the date and time and were contacted several times. We engaged all candidates equally. Some did not respond. Some could not attend due to scheduling, and some declined. Thank you to all of the candidates who were able to make it today. The format tonight also utilizes methods to ensure equitability and transparency. As facilitator, I will ask a series of questions that each candidate will have equal time to respond to. The order was determined by a drawing, and the first speaker will shift for each question. Let's jump right in with introductions and opening statements by the candidates. Each candidate will have 1 minute. Let's start with let's start with you, Stacy.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Stacy Jolley, and I am pleased to serve as the president right now of the Millard School Board. I am running for my second term. I started in 2018, and it has been an absolute joy to serve for the last 5 years. I was originally appointed by the board when there was a vacancy and then ran for my own term. I feel as though my children have received so many spectacular opportunities through the Millard Public Schools that I owe a debt of gratitude that I can never repay. Both of our boys are already out in the world and thriving, and my daughter is a senior at Millard North and is just having so many great opportunities that I want to do everything I can to make sure that the next generation of children in Millard also have those opportunities. And whether that be an opportunity to have a challenging class, to get additional help, to participate in an activity like the arts or athletics, whatever it is, I want to preserve those opportunities for all Millard kids.
Thank you, Stacy. Lisa Schoenberger.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks to the League of Women Voters, and thanks to Mike and Stacy both for your extended service on the board and for being here tonight. I'm running for this role for two very personal reasons. They are my two daughters, who are 5 and 3. I will be a parent in this district for the next 15 years, and I really believe in helping build upon the remarkable things that drew my husband and I to Millard when we decided to buy a home and to start our family. I think Millard does a phenomenal job of meeting kids where they're at, whether they're a special education student, a typically developing student, a high ability learner. There's all kinds of different programs based on the types of things that kids need in order to reach their full potential. I'm here to help be a responsible steward of taxpayer investments and make sure that those investments continue to pay off so strongly like they have for generations here in Millard. I'm really looking forward to hearing more from my colleagues tonight and from sharing a little bit more about my vision for the future of our district.
Thank you, Lisa. Mike Kennedy.
First off, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having us here tonight. It's very important that the voters have important information regarding our race, and I've been serving on the board for the past 20 years. I have a very strong passion for education literacy. Another hat I wear, I'm president of the Omaha Library Board, and I've been on that board for 8 years. I think that's the most important thing we can give to children is an opportunity. And one of the things I have all the time is, if you rob a child of an education, you rob a family of its future. And children only get one shot at an education. And so I'm really working hard to make sure of a couple things this election cycle. One, that we have teachers that are committed to the classroom and we were able to recruit them and retain them. And two, make sure that we have the resources for our great programs. And Millard is an excellent school district. The last thing I want to say is this, is that I've been endorsed by the two greatest educators Millard's had over the last 25 years, Dr. Keith Lutz and Jim Sutphin. They're retired superintendents, and I have their support.
Thank you. Let's start with the first question. We'll start with Lisa.
Sure.
What areas will be your top priorities as a Board of Education member to continue, change, or add to existing Millard Public School policy?
Yeah, great question. You know, I think one of the things that will be a really interesting challenge for all school districts across the state to navigate is our workforce. I think we're seeing this in the public sector, in the private sector, and certainly Millard hasn't been immune, although I believe we've fared a little bit better maybe than some peer institutions throughout the region. We need to make sure that we can recruit, train, and retain a world-class level of staff, and that's all the way from our administrators, our teachers, our paraprofessionals, and all support staff members. I think it's really important that people feel that they are fairly compensated for the work that they do, and that they're also really valued and appreciated for the critical work that they do in our classrooms and in our building every single day. So I'd say that's probably one of my top priorities, but a minute doesn't give me a whole lot of time to expand on those.
Thank you, Lisa. Mike?
I think, like I said earlier in my opening is, and I'll probably repeat it several times tonight, it's workforce and funding. Millard went through a process called selective abandonment where we had to cut a lot of programs. And if we are not able to stabilize our funding, then we'll have our great programs. We're one of the top 100 music programs in the country for our students. We've been recognized for that. We have great high ability learner programs. And I just want to say this, we had national semi-finalists for the merit scholarships. Guess how many Millard had? We had 7% of the high school seniors, and we had 40% of the winners. That isn't by circumstance, that isn't luck. That's because we have great educators, we have great students, and we have parents that are supportive of our programs and get behind our kids. And what I want to do is keep Millard Millard. Millard has done such a great job over the last 20 years under the current board, and I would like to continue that for another 4 years.
Thank you, Mike. Stacy?
Yes, so I would reiterate what both of my colleagues here have said. I would also place a focus on the somewhat of the learning loss that has happened as a result of COVID. You hear a lot of national statistics about some below grade level learning with a lot of our students right now. Fortunately, Millard was proudly in school all throughout the last 2 years. And so we are seeing less of a learning loss than many districts around the country. That being said, there are losses, and it is so important that we reach those kids now and get them up to grade level so that that does not follow them all through the rest of their high school career. But in general, I don't want to propose a ton of changes because I think Millard is really awesome already. I think our community is very supportive of our schools. I think our students are thriving. The statistic Mike gave is just one statistic that proves that. And so I think we just need to keep doing what we're doing.
Thank you. Next question. How will you address student learning and well-being deficits encountered in the past 2 years? Let's start with Mike.
Well, I go back to what Stacy had to talk about. I think one of the things is we have a very good administration, great teachers, and a great board, and we got ahead of the learning loss because we saw what was coming. It was a disruptive environment, whether you were learning from home or learning in school. Our biggest thing was to get the kids back in the classroom. And one thing I was really proud of our board is we were able to keep our schools safe and open. We had the right policies to do that. But we've been taking a lot of steps to make sure we have additional resources for those kids that did get behind and we'll work with them because we got to make sure children are at grade level or above. Because here's an interesting statistic: if children are not at grade level in reading by the 3rd grade, they tend to fall behind, and they're less likely to attend classes and less likely to graduate. And so it's very important school districts across this country, including Millard, focus on those students that had the learning loss, because like I said earlier, you only get one shot as an education as a kid, and we got to get it right, because if we don't, it's going to hurt this community down the road in finding employment and filling jobs in our community.
Thank you, Mike. Stacy?
So specifically, I think the way that we address this and we tackle this issue is through our testing of students and figuring out where they are. We have an incredible workforce, incredible teachers and paras and administrators who administer these, what we call, or what many districts use, called MAP testing. And those students are tested 3 times throughout the year, and it gives a real-time snapshot of where students are. And then our staff and teachers, they are able to say, student A needs work on this particular skill, student B on this particular skill. And it just is embedded into the way we do business, which is meeting every child exactly where they are and giving them what they need to succeed. So I feel like as a district, we're sort of doubling down on those efforts of figuring out what are the losses. And then as a board, we recently voted to have 2 additional planning days for our teachers, because our teachers are just in general busy and maxed out, and those 2 additional days of staff planning will allow them to take those test results and turn them into lessons to help our kids back up to grade level.
Thank you. Lisa?
Yeah, thanks. You know, I'd echo a lot of what's been said already. I think the importance of making sure that we understand exactly where needs are across 35 different buildings in the district is really key. I think those assessments are a key piece of that allows us to deploy resources, whether it's a reading interventionist or instructional coaches or things like that where they're needed most, to allow us to maximize resources really efficiently. I think we also learned during the pandemic that yes, schools' primary purpose are to educate students in numbers and arithmetic, but there's so much more. The community piece of this is really important, and I think that well-being piece is going to be incredibly important as we transition back into steady state. I think it's been a really great start to the school year. I think everybody's feeling like things are clicking back into place. I think we just need to keep an eye on that and make sure that everyone's feeling well, showing up to school ready to learn and ready to reach their full potential.
Thank you. Next question. Teacher and staff shortages have reached crisis levels throughout the U.S. What policy, budget, or superintendent guidance would you provide to prioritize and support critical staffing shortfalls? To start with you, Stacy.
Yeah, it's tough, and Millard is not immune. We've been very, very fortunate. In my tours of all of our buildings each year, I ask that question of our staff, of our principals. How are we? Are you fully staffed? And most of them are getting very close, but most still have 1 or 2 openings, whether that be a paraprofessional or an open teaching position. So we've been lucky in Millard, but it's the problem is there isn't enough of a pipeline. A lot of kids are not choosing to study education in college. So we have started, and we will be building our education academy at the high school level and making that into 2 separate schools so that we can offer that academy, which gets a student their associate's degree or many hours towards their college degree before they graduate high school. But we're also starting educator rising clubs in every single one of our 35 buildings, because if we want to combat this shortage, we're going to have to grow our own.
Thank you. Lisa?
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of Grow Your Own programs. I also think that this is going to have to be a collaborative effort that we participate in across the state. I think we'll have to bring in stakeholders from the state college system, the university system. We really need to make sure that we have a very clear strategic path forward and how we can bring more individuals to the profession and how we can make sure that that's an economical choice for them. there is a point at which the investment of a 4-year degree that's needed to become a teacher doesn't pay off well for people. And so we need to really make sure that we're looking at what levers might be able to be pulled at the state level and use our voice as the 3rd largest district in this state in order to advocate for our staff members, especially in those first 3 years that we know are really critical for long-term retention of staff members. And I think that's a key piece too. We need to make sure that we're holding on to the teachers that we already have. We've got the best of the best here in Millard, and we certainly can't afford to have people leaving the profession while we're trying to build that pipeline to bring people in the door as well.
Thank you. Mike?
When I spoke at the beginning, I talked about 2 major issues. One was attracting and retaining employees, and the second one was resources and funding. And there isn't a silver bullet that's going to solve this problem. So what Stacy and Lisa said is very true. What we need to do is one, we need to make sure that Millard has a great environment so that our teachers are not overworked and become stressed out. And I think our board has done that by adding the additional days and monitoring that. The second thing we need to do is work on compensation. There's 8% inflation out there, yet the teachers only got about half that on a raise. And I know Stacy and I have been working on that effort this year. We were able to give a little bit more to the teachers, and coming up we need to make sure that we have those resources because teachers are highly educated. They will go work somewhere else in the market to make another dollar. And if you don't treat teachers well and you don't pay them well, then guess what? You'll have other people that want to take those positions that don't have the high skills that they demand. And for Millard to have the programs we have, the AP, the early college, the high ability learner, and all these great programs, you have to have a high skilled, high quality educated workforce.
Thank you, Mike. Next question, how would you emphasize equity and inclusion on the school board and the district? How would you ensure a safe and inclusive district for all individuals, regardless of identity, from the whole district, from the classroom? Let's start with Lisa.
Yeah, great. I think this is really important, and I think that really it comes down to respecting all people for the unique value that they bring to Millard Public Schools. I think that it's really important that our children, our community, our faculty and staff have a sense of belonging. It's not just a nice thing to say. It's really proven through many different research initiatives to be key to academic achievement. When people feel like they belong, they have a place, and they add value to their school community, that's really good for everybody. I think it's also really critical to that well-being piece as we move forward, that kids feel like somebody is waiting for them to come to school every day and is excited to see them. And I think that only happens when there's fundamental respect for who people are at their core, the way that they come to school, the way they were born, the family that they come from, and really just all of the things that create our identities as people.
Thank you. Mike?
Yeah, it's something that we've been working on our board for years, and I think Millard has a good track record in those areas. And we do take children when they come to our buildings. We don't care their background, religion, identities, and that. What we care about is we want to make sure kids are ready and prepared to learn, and we want to work with their families. And that's one thing that's really special about Millard. My wife is a teacher in Millard. She teaches in our English language learner program, and she has to deal with a lot of newcomers, and we do a great job working with kids from all different backgrounds, whether they come here maybe from India for a high-paying software job and the family's just getting here in transition, or we get somebody that may have come from Central America and doesn't have a lot of resources. No matter how that child comes to us, we want to work with them, work with the families, and make sure that they have a great opportunity. Because one thing I really love about Millard and want to keep with Millard is no matter who you are, your background, your kids are going to get a great education. And I'm really proud of doing that.
Thank you. Stacy?
Well, I would agree with everything you guys said. So good answers. Yes. So I think just to reiterate somewhat, I think that Millard does a great job. We have a robust anti-discrimination policy. So every single person who walks through our doors is welcome. It doesn't matter what your family background is, who your parents are, what religion you are, what race or nationality you are welcome in our schools. We are focused on learning. We are focused on meeting our kids academically where they exactly are, making them succeed. That is the mission of the Millard Public Schools. And we do that by being respectful to every person who walks in our door. And I don't want anyone of any religion, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic background to ever not feel welcome in Millard. That is an incredibly high priority, and as Lisa said, it really makes an impact on achievement. So you are welcome in Millard.
Thank you. The next question, if elected, how will you be an ambassador for the district at the state and national level? Let's start with Mike.
Well, I have been doing that for the past 20 years. I've been involved with our national conferences, our trips to DC where we lobby our congressmen and senators on that. I've been part of that group. And Millard has really been at the forefront in working in states, speaking down the legislature, talking to our state senators, talking to our local officials. In fact, the other day I was talking with Mayor Stothert about initiatives we're doing with Millard, and we're very active, engaged. I think all of our board members do that. And that's one thing I like about our board is it's not just about Millard. We understand to get the resources and to talk about educational policy, we have to be involved at the local, state, national level. And what I'll do is I'll continue to keep doing that. I've been endorsed by all the major Republican and several Democrats here in the area, and I work in a bipartisan way to make sure we get the resources for our district.
Thank you. Stacy?
Yes, so this is a way I already serve. So Millard has a seat on the Nebraska Association of School Boards Board of Directors, and I have served on that Board of Directors since I joined the board in 2018. Additionally, I'm on the executive committee for that board, and so it's been a great opportunity to see how education functions all across our state and to make friends and colleagues with boards from every type of school district at the state level. I've also put forth my name to serve in leadership for NASB, to run to be the vice president of the board and then move through the president-elect and president of NASB in the years to come if I'm chosen. I think it's so important because Millard is not a standalone institution. Yes, we believe strongly in local control and every district is different, but there's a lot more about us that is alike than is different because we're all Nebraskans and we all have children as our highest priority.
Thank you. Lisa?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great question. I am serving on one of the action teams for Millard's current strategic plan, which is under construction now. And strategic planning is a very big deal in Millard. It's a very active process that brings a whole lot of stakeholders to the table. And part of our action plan is how do we tell our story in Lincoln and in Washington to make sure that we're able to advocate for the things that matter most to Millard and really to public education at large. And I think one of the things that we've spoken about is activating fellow parents who currently have children in school to help them be able to navigate the legislative process and to help their voice be heard and to help them advance things that they really, really love about Millard. That's been a really priority of mine, especially when it comes to early childhood education, going down to Lincoln and testifying on bills and chatting with both my senator and the other senators in the area that I've gotten to know, and just really making sure that they understand on the ground level for people currently raising families in this community, what's important, what we're worried about, what we're excited about, and all of that.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all for your answers. Now each candidate will have one minute for your closing statements. I'll start with Mike.
Thank you, and thank you once again for having us tonight. I think my record speaks for itself, and the campaign's still going to have is trusted, experienced leadership. And I've served in many ways in this community, and I love serving on the school board, but Millard still has challenges that we have to meet. I can't tell you how important it is that Millard be able to have the resource it needs to continue its programs. We're one of the least spending districts in the state. However, with budget cuts and across the board with the state and the state funding formula, we need to have board members that are effective in working with the state legislature, and I've been able to do that. Last thing I want to say is this: I have the confidence in the community. I have tremendous support, especially from, I think, two of the greatest educators in Millard, Dr. Keith Lutz and Dr. Jim Sutphin, and what I want to do is take the district that they've helped build and for the next 4 years, make Millard great. And that's what I want to do.
Thank you. Stacy?
Yes. So I am excited. I hope I have the opportunity to serve another 4 years. This is my greatest passion, public education and Millard in particular. I feel like my commitment is unrivaled. Every member of our board is so passionate about public schools, and the way I show that passion is by visiting all 35 of our buildings every year, by attending the honors nights and the musicals and the sporting events that I am invited to by the different schools in our district, and doing all I can to share the good news about Millard with our larger community and with the state. And I would just ask for your vote on November 8th. I would be honored to continue serving and to continue to improve Millard and keep it on the right track that it is on right now.
Thank you, Stacy. Lisa?
Yeah, thank you again so much for having us tonight and for these thoughtful and relevant questions. This has been a lot of fun. I think I could talk all night about how excited I am for the future of Millard, how excited I am that I get to raise kids in this community. And I think that's really what this is all about at the end of the day, is how do we make sure that this community can continue to support our children? And that means all of our children. I promise there's one thing that we can't do it without, and that's teachers. I'm so thrilled to have earned the endorsement and the confidence of Millard's Teachers Association, as well as 3 current board members. I am humbled and honored by all of the fellow parents and all of the community members who have supported this campaign. And I certainly hope that more of my neighbors that I'll get to meet between now and November 8th will do the same. You can visit my website at lisa4formillard.com to learn some more. Always reach out. I would be happy to chat with any of my neighbors if you'd like clarification or some more information.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you want to learn more about the candidates and the issues that will be on your ballot, visit vote411.org for a personalized resource tool. A special thank you to all of the candidates who are here participating in tonight's conversation. For the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, I'm Tiffany Truong, and as always, we urge you to be informed and be a voter on November 8th. Go vote Omaha.